Me? Oh, I'm a self-made artist, And all that art theory you learn in school, ooh, you can just forget about it. Some theory that I find very helpful in my career. I didn't know this because they don't teach you this in school. They don't know.
Really? OMG.
They teach you basics. You have good teachers and bad teachers, but they don't teach you some of this juicy stuff straight from raw juice. And it's really good stuff. Stuff I learned along the way and stuff I learned from concept art, which concept art for games, right? That's like idea art. It's the concept, the big idea. So it's not so much about painting pretty pictures as it is getting your idea across and thinking through. You're solving, you're a visual problem solver. That's what you are. So you're thinking through things visually. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about was in this theory, kind of, we'll go with this little hierarchy. First will be shape. Okay, that's going to be our first helpful tool for us to get the drawing on the paper, to get our foot inside the drawing. What does shape have to do with it? Well, shape is so important. We kind of go, from 1D to 2D to 3D. All right. But before that, well, we kind of go from 3D, right? That's our reference or our live model to 2D. That's our analysis and our breakdown of what's happening. And then we build back up the illusion of 3D. So it's kind of sort of in theory, right? 30,000 foot view process. That's what we do. But in practicality, okay, so we're going to take it and do a 1D, 2D to 3D. So 1D is my line, okay? Basically 1D, single line weight. And then we go to 2D, right? We enclose shapes with line segments, right? And then we make those things, right? We take that, we've made the concept now of form. That's the idea, the concept. We can go further than that, and we'll get into that later, but in essence, that's what this idea of 1D to 2D to 3D, and that might be helpful to you. Sure is, it will be. But the shape, right? We just talked about shapes. We've got ball, circle, square, and triangle. Those are our primitive shapes, and we can build everything from that. Peter Paul Rubens said you could draw anything with a ball, box, and a cone, right? So there's your cone right there. And you can use a tube. A tube is just a modified rectangle. But and we have geometric and we have organic shapes. These things are 2D, right? They're iconographic, right? The icon, and they're flat. And basically these are kind of conceptual. They're or compositional. So it's composition. It's about the read, which is so important. The silhouette. And kind of like the dynamism of shape. So if you can use dynamic shapes, right off the bat, that's going to make your read stronger. You can introduce kind of this movement. Okay, and then the next step is to take our shapes and turn them into forms. And that's kind of, it relates to everything that gives us a sense of dimensionality, right? So it's the dimension. And so that has a lot to do with value, right? So we can use line, right, to get the concept. That equals a concept, an idea, right? But the value is where we get the illusion, and we can combine that with perspective. And lighting, okay, to get the full effect. So we take something like a flat rectangle, and just by using cross contours or depth lines, right? If I do this, I show you what the characteristic of the ends are, right? These ends, if I show you flat here, if I show you curved here, just by showing you the end, okay, I can transform this into a 3D tube, right? And these depth lines, these cross contours, right, drawing over the front and to the back like it's glass, okay, like you can see through it. Okay, again, if we have, something like this, we draw that inside corner. We took that sort of flat 2D shape and took it from 2D to 3D. We haven't gone all the way yet, right? There's much more we can do, but we've gone, quite far in getting at least our big idea across, okay? Again, if we add value to it, then we've got two planes now, and the illusion is building, right? So that's a sense of lighting and value together, and there would be a cast shadow with this as well. So all that, what does that do for us? We get a lot of utility out of it. It makes things 3D. It kind of, you've got multiple sides. Okay. It sits in space. So there's a sense of the environment that comes into it, right? It's in a place, it's an object in a place, in space somewhere. So, but it has to sit in space, like convincingly. That's your job, right? And it also has to do here with rendering. Rendering is just using value to make something appear real or 3D. Okay, and then the last thing we'll do, let me just make this a little bit smaller, is use details. Okay. That's the frosting on top. It is the last thing we do. So if we have a kind of a cake, we'll have kind of our, our big shapes, and then we'll turn it into form, and then we'll have details here. So details and textures, basically. So we'll have texture plus color. All that is going to give us the rich complexity to make this thing, to pull off the illusion, and plus material here, and hopefully get our message across, whatever idea that spawned us to want to create, a narrative, a message, an emotion, right? A feeling. We'll use these to our advantage here, these 3 steps, to hopefully not bite off more than we can chew and make this whole thing, manageable, and come out the other end to where we can actually, say something to other people. So if we have, an idea here of this concept of a box, and then we add some we add some damage to it, right? We start to add cracks, break it up. And how you break that up is really important too. But that's kind of a design thing, and we can talk about that in later sessions. But this is giving it a sense of aging, a sense of weathering, a sense of personality, right? That this thing has seen, it's been through things, maybe eons, right? It's got pores, it's got chunks taken out of it, it's got moss growing on it, right? So it may have some discoloration, right? So now we have parts of it that are a little discolored, and so on and so forth, right? So we just have a few things that we need to do to this thing to make it look like it is popping off the page. That's fun. That's what I've always tried to do. I loved to do that. Um, was that making something look real? Okay, and then if we have a sense of light, you know, we have three planes, three values, and a cast shadow, right? It's not that bad, okay? It's really not that bad if you just take it slowly, bit by bit, okay? That's going to make portrait drawing a lot easier if you follow something like this. So what is this final, you know, detail step is kind of, you could refer to it as finishing work, polishing. People will all often refer to it as polishing, rendering. It's part of realism, right? It's life, it's emotion, right? And finally, you could say you know, part of the technical thing is it's your brushwork. Okay, so that's our theory part today. And this stuff you can build, you can use this for the rest of your life, you know, in whatever capacity, as a hobbyist, as a professional, as someone who just wants to improve, who loves drawing portraits. Try this out, think about it, and build things up from 1D to 2D to 3D. I think it's very helpful.